Are you curious about financial literacy? Then take a look at Professor Anthony ROVIECCIO's new program on Parrot TV. It's called Financial Focus University. This is an excellent program to learn about questions related to your own finances post-COVID, if how you can manage your money, how you can work with your tax situation. And this is an excellent and informative discussion of financial literacy. With Professor Anthony ROVIECCIO, your financial problems will be solved at Parrot TV with Financial Focus University.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Financial Focus University. I am Professor Anthony ROVIECCIO. I am the founder of the Financial Advisors Group and current CEO of a digital financial advisory firm called ROVIECCIO Financial Advisors. Our 30-minute show today, I think, is going to be wonderful for me, you, and many other income tax preparers that just finished income tax season. Our first segment is we're going to talk about Bidenomics, as we normally do. I'm sure anyone that's into news and financial information knows that we just finished one, forgive the French, hell of a week, which we'll talk about in a few moments, and how it affected the stock market, the bond market, even our lovely Bob Press Index that we talk about from week to week. And then our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, is going to take up the bulk of our show, and it's our general Ask the Question segment. And ladies and gentlemen, what I took the liberty of doing, and I want to apologize for not being here last week. Last week, I caught a very bad case of what we call income taxitis. And what that means in the income tax world is that I basically was pulling my hair out. Well, while I was pulling my hair out and I was on my mini 1-week vacation, of course, some income tax preparers and income tax advisors got together. We normally get drunk, and we share what we call horror stories. So I have a whole bunch of Ask the Question horror stories that clients asked us. And I believe that within the middle of these questions could be some income tax questions you might be thinking of. So hopefully I'll be able to answer them, like, where's my check? What should I do with my money? And many things in between that we heard from consumers like you during the course of income tax season. So that will be our 30-minute show. And our first segment, which we'll start off right now, is our general Bidenomics segment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do our Bidenomics segment a little bit different this week. I want to share with you some of the events that took place during the course of this week. And, you know, sometimes we have to remember, although I hate to say it, that, you know, politics and money are intertwined, right? So in saying that, let's talk about the economic events of the week that hit our financial news and market. Well, first thing we heard was Russian representatives, right? The Secretary of Defense from Russia pretty much said publicly, well, nuclear war is still an option, right? Well, I would venture to tell you that that wasn't good for the market this week, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. Another thing that took place during the course of the week was Twitter. Twitter was sold. Twitter was sold to Elon Musk. Now, I don't know if a car representative or a space company executive knows how to run a social media firm, but I guess we're going to find out. And of course, while we're finding out, it will now be a private firm. It will not be a public firm. And that had a very big effect on our financial markets as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you some very bad news that you might have heard during the course of the week. Our US dollar, the dollar that's in your pocket, is for the first time in 20 years much stronger to us than it is in Japan. Now, that might sound like a good thing, right? So from a USA point of view, right, that's a good thing. Well, for the economic market, it's really not a good thing, because remember, you know, we interchange, we have we deal with foreign currency, we deal with foreign trade, which leads me to the next item that came out during the course of this week. We found out that our trade, our exports, are now higher than imports. And that's generally a good sign, ladies and gentlemen, because that shows that a segment, our U.S. trade is only 10% of our overall economy. But it's good to know that that 10% is moving right along. But what about the other 90%? What about gross domestic product? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got bad news on that. As you might have heard, first quarter GDP went down. It went down 1.3%. Well, what was the problem? Well, it wasn't exports, right? And it also wasn't consumer spending, which we'll talk about in a moment. The two areas of our economy that aren't spending are business and investment and U.S. government. Well, why isn't the government spending? Well, the economic stimulus checks are now gone, right? They're now gone, right? And why should businesses go out there and spend money on equipment and things like that? Let's be honest. Are you spending enough to keep them alive? Are they even barely alive themselves, right? So businesses, of course, naturally under this period of COVID, which is why I'm wearing this silly mask, is a very serious and dangerous thing, not just to businesses, but now, of course, couple that with other areas in our economy, which made first quarter GDP go down. So, and if you go to the next slide, you'll see some of the things that we're talking about. So again, no, that's not it. That's not it either. No. You got a different slide on. Okay, well no, it's the Autonomic Slide. It's the Autonomic Slide. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. So let me continue to talk about some of the elements of the week before we go over the actual numbers. So again, right, getting away from gross domestic product, which is, of course, our U.S. economy. Well, let's talk about the consumer because numbers came out on the U.S. consumer. Well, the U.S. consumer had personal income. The average U.S. consumer made 0.5% in income. That is a very healthy number, right? Well, consumer spending, right, that same consumer spent 1.1%, right? So as I said earlier, consumer spending isn't the problem. But if you notice, ladies and gentlemen, they're spending twice as much as what's coming in, right? So something's missing here, right? Maybe they're spending too much, right? Didn't I say a minute ago the economic stimulus checks weren't coming in, right? So we have to do some basic house budgeting, right? So husband and wife get together this week because these numbers obviously are not adding up and they are going to show a very bad effect to our economy. So what does all of this mean, right? Well, forgive me again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to wait for our producer. He's in the middle of looking at too many economic funny pictures. So let's talk about how the market handled all of this wonderful information. Well, the S&P, the Standard & Poor's 500 for the week went down. It went down negative 1.1%. How did the Dow Jones Industrial Average do? Well, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, of course, went down. It went down a negative 1% for the week. How did the NASDAQ do, right? One of my favorite areas. The NASDAQ, if you're not familiar, in just layman's terms, think of it as technology. Well, ladies and gentlemen, technology went down negative 2.9% for the week. So we have a general idea of how the stock market did during the course of the week. Let's talk about bonds. Let's talk about U.S. Treasury bonds. I'm going to talk about two areas, ladies and gentlemen. The 2-year Treasury bond, the 10-year Treasury bond. If you're used to certificates of deposits or CDs in the bank, you can correlate it to that. So how did they do for the week? Well, the 2-year bond went up 16%. The current rate on a 2-year Treasury bond is now 2.7%. Well, how did the 10-year Treasury bond do? If I put my money away for 10 years, what do I get? Well, that went up in the course of 1 week, 7%. Or now you can get a 2.9% note for the course of 10 years. If you notice, ladies and gentlemen, I said that the 2-year note went up 16%. The 10-year note went up 7%, right? So as you can see, and we've talked about this for the last couple of weeks, a very dangerous area called the inverted yield curve, when short-term rates go higher than long-term rates. Many believe, including myself, that it brings many hiccups to the United States economy. So, how did the market do for the week? Well, the market, of course, was pretty funny, right? It went down negative 1.6%. Well, from 2022, January 1, 2022, that's 17 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. Can you believe it? How is the market done? Ladies and gentlemen, the market is now down from the beginning of January 9.7%. If you're not aware, please let me share with you that when we talk about in financial market terms a 10% decrease in the market, we are basically talking about signs of a recession. So I will leave you with this last piece of Autonomic thought before we go on a break. As you might have heard me say before, and I'll say it again, please call your financial advisor for advice and guidance. Today, everybody has assets. If you don't have them outside of your retirement plan, you probably have them inside of your retirement plan. Some of you might have heard this week that Fidelity is now opening up their retirement plans to include assets like Bitcoin. Sounds wonderful on paper, right? But get advice and guidance. So please call your financial advisor that is supposed to really be calling you, right? They should really be calling you to be giving you an update on your assets instead of looking at my funny face on this show. But if you need any help, feel free to give me a call, 347-575-5045. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment.
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to what I hope is a very good educational segment. We call this our Ask the Question segment, but these set of questions are not questions to you per se, or to me individually per se. These are questions that many income tax preparers and advisors, including myself, heard from the beginning of January all the way till April 18th. And of course, many of the questions were very important, very legitimate, and some of them very unusual, as you'll find out in a few moments. And I'm going to hope to answer these questions in the event of hoping to provide income tax education. So let's go to the first slide, and you'll see the first question is, why does my income tax refund keep going down? And ladies and gentlemen, let me bring to your attention two areas of why your income tax refund might continue to go down, not just this year, but next year as well. In 2017, we had a significant income tax change. We call it the Donald Trump change, as I'm sure most of you know. And those changes have significantly affected income tax planning and preparation. If we don't plan, the preparation is going to be bad. So, of course, if you're not planning, the preparation is going to be bad. What is the result of these changes? Again, 2017, where there were now many limitations on individual people, but for the business world, there were actually many exemptions, many deductions. Some people call it the small business tax decrease, which I would actually tend to concur. If we go to the next slide, of course, we get the infamous, where's my check, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, please, please, for your sake, do not call the IRS. With the IRS, you'll be on the phone for 3 hours. And ladies and gentlemen, you can call your income tax preparer, right? But trust me when I tell you, we got no inside information either. Okay? I can't call Joe Biden. I can't call Donald Trump. I can't call Dwight Eisenhower, right? So how do we find out about where our check is and what's the status of it? Very simple. Grab your telephone, right? You don't even have to go to a computer today. Go to www.irs.gov. You will see where's my refund. Just click on it, but make sure before you click on it, you need some very important pieces of identification. The first is your social security number. The second is, of course, your filing status, whether you filed single, head of household, and then, of course, the amount that's on the paper, whatever the tax refund is supposed to be. And then, after you fill in that data, hopefully the IRS website, which, yes, I am aware there have been delays with the website because I'm going to also presume that a lot of people haven't gone to the website, and I hear there have been some crashes along the way, and I'm not going to apologize for them either, but I would still say that would be the quickest way to find out what's happening with your IRS check. As some have heard me say in the past, I'm not going to make any excuses for them, but I think the last 2 years have been, again, let me use the phrase, very hellish, not just for the IRS, but for tax preparers like myself. Many do not know, or you might have forgotten, that all that economic stimulus money that everybody got for the last 2 years, well, Donald Trump might have approved it, Joe Biden might have approved it, but the ones that wrote the check are the IRS. So if they were writing checks, they weren't processing files. So this is the reason why for 2 years they've been delayed. Hold that slide right there. So let's go to the next question. Someone asked an income tax man, oh, I got my money, so what do you think I should do with it, right? So a tax preparer now all of a sudden is an investment advisor. Somewhat dangerous if he or she is not licensed, ladies and gentlemen. Some are not. But I generally tell my clients, you know what? You want to do basically 3 things with it, right? I call it the 40-40-20 rule. And the only reason I'm being very liberal with these numbers is because you guys think of it as free extra money, right? So let's follow that same analogy. So 40% should go on your wants, right? And I don't mean your needs. We'll talk about your needs in a moment, right? Your wants. Your needs are already covered. All of the bills are already covered, right? So now you want some things, right? You want to go on vacation. You want to go buy a second car, even though you already got one, right? You might want to buy 6 coats instead of 2 that you already have, right? Those are your wants. Go spend 40% of it on that. And then, of course, with another 40%, pay down on your bills. Maybe on some bills, maybe like a mortgage bill, you might want to pay a little bit more, right? Get ahead of the game, but catch up, right? So catch up on your needs, take care of your needs. I'm sure when you look at your budget, 80% of your budget should have your needs in it, right? Spend 40% on that. The other 20%, ladies and gentlemen, let's be frank. When we get paid from check to check, we don't save the money, right? Unless it's going into your 401k, you're not saving the money. And if it is going into your 401k, then you're not seeing it till age 59 and a half anyway. So take that 20% and go put it and create an emergency fund in the bank, right? If an emergency happens, you have the money there, you can spend it. Next slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. I had a client that said to me, Anthony, I just found some extra documents. Now, we just filed their income taxes. So they just found these extra documents. What should we do? Well, the first thing I said was pray, right? In a joking bad way, right? You find documents after your taxes are already processed. Well, there's only two solutions, ladies and gentlemen, besides praying. I would actually save that for the last. Well, if you filed already, then what you want your tax preparer to do is put it in an income tax amendment form. It's a 2-page form, very simple to fill out, and you just add in or take out whatever those items are. Remember, the hardest part with the form is that whatever you add in or take out, there's a whole bunch of arithmetic that has to be changed. Now, if you haven't filed yet, and I know many that have not filed, well, then you want to put in an extension. I hope everybody put in an extension. If you didn't put it in before April 18th, good luck. Don't call you. Feel free to call me, but I'm going to tell you good luck. So next slide, please. Is it true that tax software packages don't work? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure since January 1, right, when the football games came on and all of the television and the radio came on, you heard all of these income tax commercials, right? Free taxes, free taxes, free taxes, free taxes. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, especially if you've seen this show before, you've heard this before, that applies to 10% of America. So that is true for 10% of America. What does that mean in layman's terms? That means that companies are looking to get people that file simple only forms for free. What is simple? Simple means no deductions, zero deductions. Name, address, wham, bam, gone. Right? Zero deductions. Oh, but I went to college. You're not simple anymore. Oh, I got medical expenses. You're not simple anymore. Oh, I got job expenses. You're not simple anymore. Oh, I can put money into an IRA. Those taxes aren't simple anymore. And the more complex they get, of course, the higher the prices are. So what happens with a lot of these software packages that I'm sure you might have heard for free is that the moment you put one of those items in, right, that, oh, I'm on the free software and, and I'm thinking I'm getting it done for free. So, oh, there goes the IRA thing. Let me put that in. Well, what does the software do? It tells you two things. Number one, it's not acceptable to the free program. Number two, but we do have a program that works for you, right? And that for you package, regardless of the price, right, is really not the package that you're there for. So, of course, companies like TurboTax this year got into a great deal of trouble. And it won't be the last year. If anything, I'm only glad it happened because now the government will be really, really aware of these things. I'm very proud to say that 20 years ago, me and several companies, as well as the government here in New York, stopped a practice called rapid refund. I'm sure some of people that have gray hair like me probably remember that phrase, right? Because it wasn't a rapid refund, it was a rapid loan, right? And a lot of these big tax companies, ladies and gentlemen, really still have these type of programs. What makes them legal? Are you ready? It's called paperwork. It's called disclosure. It's called sign here. After you've read the 395 pages of disclosure, sign here. That makes it legal, ladies and gentlemen. So, are they, so should people get them? Absolutely, if you apply to the 10% process. And of course, these things become cheaper. Not cheaper, right? Because what's cheaper than free? But, $10, $20, $25 when they're not in their free period. Because again, it's a very good price and a very good product for only 10% of Americans. But of course, we know that's not how they sell it. To the next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, here goes a wonderful question. Can you tell, no, the one before. Can you tell my husband not to take out his retirement money for his girlfriend? How do you like that question, ladies and gentlemen? How did that come up? Well, that came up because the husband asked his retirement vendor to take out a distribution. He wanted to take out, and he took out a very significant distribution. And when he took it out, he told the vendor company, okay, I want you to tax me at what he considered to be the regular rate. And the regular tax on distributions are 10%. So if you pay your taxes, the retirement company is going to take out 10%, right? Well, that's good and bad, right? Because normally what happens with something like that is that you wind up underpaying your tax, because the proper amount should be 15 to 20%. So what happens, of course, in most cases is if you're underpaying, right, during the time you took out the distribution, then of course you got to pay the rest when it's income tax season, right? When it's time to file your taxes. So that means that's going to lower the refund, right? Which pretty much brought up the basis of this question, right? But ladies and gentlemen, you'll be happy to know that upon further investigation on the wife's end, she found out that the retirement distribution was for a wonderful house that they now own, not in New York, which is part of the reason for the distribution, and it did not go to his girlfriend. And I won't comment anymore on that. So to the next slide. I got one tax refund check, but I did not get the other. Can you investigate? Yes and no. Because no, I don't work for the IRS. No, I don't work for the state, and neither do any tax preparer that I'm aware of. We technically work for you. But again, as I said earlier, we got no inside information, right? I don't know Joe Biden's phone number, and trust me, he don't want to know mine. And vice versa with Donald Trump and Dwight Eisenhower and Jimmy Carter and anybody else, right? So what should one do? Ladies and gentlemen, you heard me mention, please have patience. I can tell you that the IRS is working on a semi-good schedule this year. Most clients are getting their taxes through direct deposit 3 to 4 weeks. Many of them are getting them also through the mail 6 to 8 weeks. The state, depending on the state you live in, could be 1, 2, 3 weeks behind. The reason why that's happening is because, of course, it's on the federal side. If any adjustments have to be made, then those adjustments have to be transferred to the state, and that holds up the state a little bit. So as you heard me say a little bit earlier, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a very bad 2 years in the income tax processing world, and I'm hoping that, and I do believe this will be the last year of it. So if you haven't gotten your refund, or if you have gotten one of them, I'm sure the second one is en route. To the next slide, please. How can I get a bigger refund next year? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see that we have a calculator up there. And I put it up there because I want you to grab a pen real quick. How does one get a bigger income tax refund next year? Well, ladies and gentlemen, there are over 500 income tax areas, let me call them tax specialty areas, that may or may not apply to you. And a lot of them are based on your lifestyle planning. So this is why tax planning is so important. So you could take those 500 things that I just mentioned and really put them into 3 areas. And you'll see that the first area is called adjustments, or what we call above the line taxation, right? Because the line, as we call it, is the adjusted gross income, which is the orange bar. So on the top, and you'll see 3 minuses are there. The first one is called adjustment. The second one is called deduction. And the third one, we're going to change exemptions and we're going to call that credit. Okay, so deductions and then credits. Well, the first one is adjustments. Now, of course, I'm not going to cover all 500 here. The point of this is to learn, to go out and learn, whether you learn it on your own or you hire someone to learn them. Yeah, I know many people, and I'm sure some of the audience might be self-employed. I'm sure some areas in one's life might be what I call being an ad hoc landlord, right? That we rent out property and we receive rental income, right? Many people, myself included, put money away into an IRA or a retirement plan every year. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when these things happen in our lives, that applies to the first minus. Those adjustments lower your income. And the second one, which we call income tax deductions, those are the ones that we're actually more familiar with, but many people don't really dive deep into them. So we're talking things like medical expenses. We're talking things like taxes that you pay, whether it's your state taxes, your city taxes, your community taxes, your property taxes, your sales taxes. We're talking about gifts to, medical expenses, as you heard me say a moment ago, gifts to charity. Gifts to charity today is not like it was yesterday. In yesterday's world, it was a place of worship. In today's world, it's any non-for-profit organization, right? Gifts to charity can be, of course, cash, checks, what we call donated property, whether it's clothing, furniture. I have clients that have gone as far as giving away their car for a tax deduction because they knew they were buying another one. So that's the second area that you want to lower your taxes. I joke around, ladies and gentlemen, with my clients and say, this is the only place that you want to get yourself as poor as possible, right? You got your gross income of $100,000, let's say, then you tag in some adjustments. You make that $70,000, right? That makes it to your adjusted gross income. Now you got maybe say another 20,000 of deductions, right? And with tax credits, which I'll talk about in a moment, right? That will let's say we have another 20, right, of tax credits, which I'll talk about in a moment. That lowers it to your taxable income. And why is that number so important? Because in the income tax world, the next page, the next line is called Uncle Sam. And that's the number he's looking at to tax. Not the 100,000, but the taxable income. So you heard me talk about adjustments. You heard me talk about deductions. Some examples of income tax credits. Ladies and gentlemen, anybody in the audience got children? There are several areas of tax advantage deductibilities for children on basically any age. And if they go to school, that's even better. And guess what? If you go to school, that's even better too, right? You got all these areas of deductibility. You hire a babysitter, you have childcare. I mean, again, I don't want to talk about the 500 areas when we're getting off the show in 5 minutes, but tax planning is what you want to know to get your bigger refund every year, because the government taxes you based on taxable income, not gross income. So if you have gross income, no deductions or little deductions, well, that's what you're getting taxed at. If you get taxed on that, well, what was one of the questions that I said earlier, right? Why does my tax refund keep going down? Well, there are many reasons for that, but I would bet $1 to a donut that 7 to 10 out of 10 cases is because no one is applying their income tax deduction, right? And final piece of advice, ladies and gentlemen, on this subject matter, tax planning does not happen when you come see me or your tax preparer to do your taxes, right? That's not when tax planning happens. When you come see me on April 15, 2022, and you say, Anthony, what advice can you give me for 2021, my 2021 taxes? The only advice I can tell you is, as they say in the movie, go back to the future, because 2021's already passed. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We're in 2022, right now. Is your W-4 adjusted to the income you're making today? Are you self-employed and making sure you're capturing all of your tax advantage deductibilities? See, it is all about understanding up to 500 areas of tax deductibility that you should A, learn, and B, track all during the course of the year. So guess what? We're at the end of April, right? 4 months have already gone. So we can learn the last 8 months and apply it and then give it to your tax person and say, here, I learned this on this funny show called Financial Focus University. And you know what? He looks like a jerk with a mask on and he's got gray hair, but I learned something from him. He said, if I did this and tracked all that, I should give this to you. And he's going to look at you with a smile and say, thank you very much. You know why he's going to look at you with a smile, ladies and gentlemen? Because he knows he's going to make you a happy man, or she's going to make you a happy person. And of course, they want you to come back. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for allowing me to vent. And I want to share with you some quick items on our show for the month of May. For the month of May, of course, it's Mother's Day, right? So we'll talk about that a little bit on our next show. But what we're also going to talk about for the whole month of May in our show is we're going to add a little theme to it. We're going to add a little flavor to it. And that flavor has to do with debt and credit. So a lot of the things we'll talk about for the month of May will have to do with what's going on with your credit report, what's going on with your debt situation, and how can we lower it. We're also going to have a couple of segments in the month of May, our traditional budget and politics segment. Those are our 45-minute shows. And our next week's show, which will be our 45-minute show, we're going to have as our guest a candidate for the 81st Assembly District by the name of George Diaz. And we're going to talk about his thoughts on the state budget and, of course, with his race. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us every day. Not every day. Listen to me. See, ladies and gentlemen, I still got income tax-itis. But join us every Friday, 5 p.m. Be financially focused. Have a great night.
Hey, sports fans! New York Parrot has come out with a great new show for you guys, Sports with Rich. Broadcast time 10 p.m. Tuesday evening. Rich Mancuso with Robert Rizzo as a co-host. Sports with Rich is captivating, informative, and entertaining, and it will pertain to all American sports such as soccer, football, basketball, baseball, athletics, wrestling, you name it. Get rich information from Rich Mancuso on Sports with Rich. Parrot